Well, back on pitch side, and huge congratulations to England for their phenomenal win in this first test match here in Multan. For Pakistan, lots of questions and lots to reflect on. Of course, they've got a couple of days before they can turn things around and really redeem themselves in that next test match in Multan. I've been joined by Bazid Khan and, of course, the coach of this red ball team, Jason Gillespie. Jason, tough few days for Pakistan overall after scoring 556 runs in that first innings. They were in a dominating position. Where do you think it all went wrong?
Yeah, thanks, Zainab. And look, we did bat very well. I was really pleased with our effort to post that first innings score. Unfortunately, we didn't get our bowling plans right. We didn't execute specifically what we were trying to do, and that allowed England to get away. And we were playing catch up ever since. And look, what you can't afford to do is not get your skills right against quality players. And I think the England players just showed just how good they are, and we were not able to put any pressure back on them. We struggled to control the run rate. We were able to do it in parts, and we were able to implement our bowling plans in parts, but in parts isn't going to drive games forward in Test cricket. We need to do it more often. We need to be more consistent. We've spoken about this, and we've spoken about this. We need to make sure we actually do it, and that's the challenge going forward.
We'll come to the bowling, but just in terms of the batting, now these second innings collapses have become rather regular for Pakistan. Yep. We saw that against Bangladesh as well. Yep. Pakistan seems to do well in that first innings, but what is it down to? Is it psychological? Is it because if it was a question of techniques, then we wouldn't be able to see runs in the first innings at all anyway. So what do you attribute this to?
Well, I certainly don't think it's a skill thing, as we've shown that we can score runs. Look, is it because we spent so much time in the field, then all of a sudden we're batting and their bowls are fresh? Look, who knows? But one thing we do need to do is find solutions and find ways to actually absorb those tougher periods when the opposition is bowling at us, and then identifying those opportunities to score the runs and drive the game. And we talk a lot about driving the game, and we've done that in patches. In my time, obviously, with the 2 tests against Bangladesh, the 3rd test I've been involved. And we've seen a couple of similar patterns. So that's something that we must learn from, and that's really, really important. And we speak about it, but we've actually got to translate the good conversations we're having in the dressing room, in the meetings, the planning that we're doing. That's all very good. The training, the preparation's good. We just need to convert all that good stuff into performance out in the middle.
Yeah, we saw a stat in 2023 that the second innings is a huge problem. Zainab alluded to the fact that maybe it's not a technical problem, maybe it's a mental block, and we've been sort of almost waiting for that to happen. Is there a solution to that? Is there any way forward in terms of getting that better, or they have to get one innings or the second innings over, or play well in that second innings to actually overcome that mental block? I feel it's a huge mental block.
We'll just have to look. I'm not a psychologist, but look, it's something that we need to improve. There's no doubt about that. We showed we can. So, we had a 100-run partnership between Amir Jamal and Salman Ali Agar. So we know we can do it, and we've shown that we can do that with the bat in patches. But again, we just need to make sure that we find solutions to those good periods when the opposition are looking to drive the game. We need to find ways to stem that flow and then get the initiative back. And they're the conversations we're continually having. But ultimately, it's up to the guys with the bat in hand, with the ball in hand. They've got to do their jobs.
Well, not to point fingers at anybody, but obviously you have certain experience in the squad when it comes to batting and bowling. Shaheen is your frontline pacer, and then you've got Babar, somebody like Babar who sort of holds the batting together. But we haven't really seen those performances by these two players in the last 2 years. And really, the question is it a case of them taking some time apart and then coming back, or do you think the management wants to really back them and rely on them to take this team forward?
Look, we certainly want to back our players, there's no doubt about that, and we firmly believe that if we give players that backing and support, believing in them, we'll get the best out of them. You know, you mentioned those two guys. They're quality players. They've done it for many years in international cricket, and we're really confident they can perform well. Having said that, they are all format players, and we need to make sure that we're looking after them as best we can. But look, I'm really confident these guys will put in some great performances for Pakistan going forward.
All right, lastly, just on the conditions then, in terms of Pakistan, when the pitch is being prepared, what do you think is Pakistan's strength? Because we haven't really found a blueprint yet as to, you know, what exactly the pitch, which kind of pitch is going to favour Pakistan.
Yeah, I wasn't upset with the surface here, Multan. This is pretty much what we expected and what we thought was going to be the best opportunity for us to play well in the game. And if you look at our first innings, we put on a score in excess of 550. So that part was fine. No one was saying anything about the surface then. It was only when we didn't get our plans right and we didn't execute our skills with the ball that everyone started to talk about the surface. So that is a key for us, is making sure that we get our skills right. When the ball is in our hand, we make sure we implement. Our plan was to bowl tight and bowl at the stumps, and for one reason or another, we weren't able to do that consistently. So that's something we need to address and we need to rectify, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah, Pakistan is quite an impatient place. Yes, we've talked about the plans and they've not worked. Pakistan hasn't won a home test match since what, 11 test matches, and it's carrying on. I asked you before the season started, what is the strength in home conditions that Pakistan have to actually win a test match? We still haven't discovered that, and I don't know how much more. It's just very passionate Pakistan, how much more they're able to be patient about actually getting over the line. Yes, repeat offences with the bat, with the ball, but where do you then draw the line? Okay, these guys have not been able to do it, or this is not being done. How much longer do you wait?
Yeah, that's a good question. And please understand that this management, myself included, this is our third test match. So it's, you know, very early for us in this space. We've certainly looked at past performances, but we're looking at the right now. You know, everyone talks about, you know, sometimes players are better players when they're not in the team, you know, and everyone is crying out for change. I understand that. People want to see results, they want to see performances, but we also have got some very fine players in that dressing room, and we've shown that, you know, we've had a number of guys who scored centuries this game, and we show, as I said, we show glimpses with the ball. So skill levels aren't the issue. We just need to make sure that we're in the game, we're playing the game, we're adjusting and adapting in game, we're finding solutions out there rather than reflecting at the end of the day's play or the end of the match, oh, we should have done this or we should have done that. No, let's adjust and adapt in game. In-game solutions is something that we talk about a lot, and how can we adapt better and more quickly in game to the adjustments within the game.
Quickly then, before you leave, can we expect any changes in the squad for the next test match?
Oh, you'll have to wait and see, but certainly, obviously, Abra Ahmed is still unwell. He's still being treated at the hospital. So we're just waiting on assessment on him. But we're certainly going to look. There'll be a selection meeting probably later today, and we'll look at all what our options are going into the next test match. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Jason. We're going to let you go so that you can go and have your meetings and discuss the way forward. And that was the coach of the Pakistan cricket team, Jason Gillespie, for you, just talking about reflecting on this particular test match and looking ahead. We're going to take a short breather. When we do come back, we'll be joined by David Cower. All right, then this is how things went in this test match. Pakistan taking on England. Pakistan making that 556, and then England in response with that monumental 823, thanks to that fantastic partnership between Joe Root and Harry Brook. Pakistan were bundled out for 220 in response, where England won by an innings and 47 runs. Right, we're back on pitch side, just reflecting on this test match, and now we've been joined by David Cower. David, a phenomenal win for England by all means, considering the fact that they conceded 556 runs in that first innings. Who would have thought? However, 800 runs in their first innings. I mean, imagine you're talking about these flat tracks. They really did capitalize on these conditions, and you had some records as well. So I'm sure there'll be a happy camp today.
I guess so. No, that's an understatement. I mean, that was a phenomenal change around. I mean, let's face it, first of all, even to get to 800 takes some phenomenal batting. So the two guys who are largely responsible produced the performances of their life in many, many ways. Joe Root's highest ever score, that says a lot. It's his 600. Harry Brook, 300 for the first time in a relatively short career. And the fact they were given the odd chance, yes. But the fact they kept it going so long, so well, was absolutely crucial. And then, of course, the pressure is on what Bazid and Jason were talking about this third innings hoodoo, really, which is plaguing Pakistan. But and the thing, I mean, I was listening to Jason there talking about skills not being executed with the ball. When you're playing on a flattish pitch, I say flattish, a very flat pitch, you've got to be so precise. I mean, and batsmen like Harry Brook can make good bowlers look ordinary. And this is the quality of his batting. You know, when he's manoeuvring for himself outside leg stump, for instance, hit a spinner over extra cover and nailing it and hitting it for 4 and 6. I mean, these are extraordinary shots by an extraordinary player. So, I mean, there is a bit of both in this. You know, a bit of, first of all, the excellent batting, putting pressure on, and maybe a little bit of lack of skill at the right times. But Pakistan's bowlers under immense pressure.
They are under immense pressure. Bazid, when you talk about the pacers and the spinners, Abrar Ahmed, of course we didn't get to see him because he was feeling unwell. But for the time that we did, I mean, he seemed rather ineffective. Whether it was down to the conditions or overall, I mean, but he was considered your frontline spinner in these conditions.
Yeah, look, the problem here is that they're sort of out of sync with what's happening with the fans, what's happening in Pakistan. Pakistan at the moment is at its lowest ebb ever in terms of cricket. And there seems as if there's no reaction to it. You play another game, you play the same squad. They've talked about their spinners or their pacers not being able to hold their skills. Then you play 5 bowlers. You don't back your bowlers then. You play 2 all-rounders, so you have Salman Ali Agha as your all-rounder and Amir Jamal as your all-rounder. So you're actually sacrificing another bowler, and then you're not willing to, on such a track, not willing to have 5 bowlers to keep the runs down or bowl the opposition out. So you're actually not identifying anything. You say you batted well in patches. Yes, you batted well in the first innings, but when you concede 823 and then you say you sort of bowl well in patches, so what do you strengthen? And it's about time now that we discover a way to win test match. You can blame the pitch all you like. The fact of the matter is Pakistan hasn't got 20 wickets in Pakistan for a long time.
Yeah.
Other teams come here and they get 20 wickets. Pakistan haven't. So where's the reaction? Where's the change? Is there something being done? All the same things happen again and again, and there's no change whatsoever. I can't recall in these 10, 11 test matches that Pakistan has lost or not been able to win in Pakistan, that there's been any sort of change or any sort of way that you look at the side or you look at the surface or you look at the playing 11 and say, no, Pakistan are going this way. It's all just confused and muddled.
Well, you're talking about the plans being confused in terms of the selection. We saw Jason Gillespie, he's obviously backing the team, that's what he was talking about. But bowling, we're talking about the fact that they were not consistent enough, or perhaps it's a case of skill. But what explains the batting in the second innings on this track?
I've talked about this at length. The batting, that is a mental block. That is a mental block that there's no quick fix to that. And it was so eminent when that first wicket of that first ball fell, when Abdullah Shafiq got out. It was not only us, it was almost all of the Pakistan cricket fraternity, all of the Pakistan cricket fans, everybody said, here we go again. So it's not about not being able to defend the new ball, not about not being able to play a little bit of movement. It's about a mental block. How's South Africa about that? The mental block of not being able to get over the line. Pakistan has got this huge mental block now in the second innings. Whenever pressure is on, they sort of crumble, and we've seen this time and time again. If this was not a, I say not a repeat offense, you would say, okay, it's an aberration, but it is a repeat offense. We're talking about it before the game starts, so it is not about the skill of the batters, not about the surface. It is just something mental that they've not been able to overcome, and they just feel the pressure so much that they just can't bear with it.
Well, clearly there were no real contributions, no partnerships in that 220. And, you know, I posed this question, David, to Jason Gillespie as well about Babar Azam. I mean, we know that he's been one of the finest of the game, and especially in particular for Pakistan across all formats. He has been struggling a lot. Now, the way he's getting out as well, I mean, that's also been a topic of discussion. Is it a case of that mental block that Bazid is talking about, him being unable to take that pressure with everything that's gone around with, you know, his captaincy and then sort of relieving himself from the captaincy? There's been just so much going on. Is it a case of him taking a bit of a breather, taking some time apart, sorting his head out, or are you on the other side of the fence where you feel like he needs to be backed and will come through eventually?
Well, okay, first thing, some of the great players of all time have had periods in their careers where they can't make a run. Greg Chappell, one of the finest Australian batsmen, had something like 6 ducks in a row all those years ago, but he ends up as one of Australia's greats. Lots of people have struggled, sometimes for a couple of games, sometimes for a series, sometimes for a year or so. But because Babar's only 29, I think I'm right in saying, he's got a lot of cricket potentially left in. This should be the peak of his career pretty much. Now, when you're down, what tends to happen is that, for instance, the delivery that got him out in the second innings, sometimes you miss it. If there's a bit of movement and it does too much, you miss it, you're still there. You maybe capitalise. When things are going against you, those little nicks inevitably take the bat and end up in the gloves. But what happens at the same time is that your confidence levels drop, and confidence is such a vital and unseeable part of everyone's game. You stop moving, you stop doing the things you do well. And the only person who can tell you at the moment whether Babar is fit, as it were, mentally to play the next game in 3 or 4 days' time is Babar himself. And I am not going to come as a guest to this country and say, you must drop Babar. I mean, that would be very rude, and I'd probably shown my passport in the airport straight away. What you have to do as management, Jason Gillespie, Shan Masood, what you have to do is manage this situation with sympathy, but you want to get the best out of the man who is probably technically your best player.
All right.
So you want to get him back. Jason was talking earlier saying he's not a psychologist. Well, actually, a coach has to be a psychologist. The many, many skills coaching international cricket involve techniques, man management, and knowing what to say even to your best players, even to your great players. I mean, Jason Watt's got a double hundred in Test cricket. Doesn't make him a batsman. But he has to understand how is the best way to get into Babar's mind, to get him fit mentally for this next game.
Yeah, look, Babar's been playing international cricket for a long time now, and with his dip in form, obviously captaincy and all that too. But you look at the way last 8 test matches, he's only played international cricket. He's just played 1 first-class game in between. So there's absolutely no downtime. So even if he has a problem, to correct it at international cricket is a huge ask. The pressure of coming here and doing it at the highest level with all the eyes on Babar does take its toll. And it's not like he plays county cricket. He doesn't have an outlet where he's playing a slightly lesser intensity of cricket, doesn't really go back there. So as a batter, we talk about workloads for bowlers, but the mental workload that he has gone through, and he's been performing consistently, but the mental workload has maybe caught up with him. And I'm not suggesting that he should be dropped. I'm suggesting that there should be some time off for him between international cricket. He's an all-format player also. Very few left. Pure batters, there are very few all-format players. So he doesn't get time off. So every innings that he plays is under scrutiny. I think there is a bit of time where now he should just remove himself from that pressure.
All right. Yeah, the burden of expectation is something that is often very hard to manage for great players. Just in terms of positives for Pakistan, very little budget, but Salman Ali Agha was definitely the standout performer for them with the bat. He's been bowling as well, and he's, backing his performances with the. He's being quite consistent with his performances. We saw that in the Bangladesh test.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he deserves a promotion the way that he bats, and when he comes in, he looks almost more assured than the batters above him, and you just feel that maybe he needs to be pushed up the order, especially in the second innings, because Pakistan struggled. He's batted brilliantly with the tail. He's been exceptional wherever he's been asked to play, and we've talked about the struggles that Pakistan have in the second innings. So one of your better players, I think Rizwan has a great record in the second innings, but one of your better players who basically scores whenever he's been asked to, maybe you look at him and say, no, he deserves a promotion up the order, because he looks like, from afar, he looks like the one player who looks assured, be it the first innings, second innings, be it the newish ball or the spinners operating.
All right, quick look at the squad then. Remember, the squad was only announced for that first test match for Pakistan. So Pakistan does have the liberty to make a few changes if required. Bazit, selector's hat then? What's happening in the next test?
I would love to see 5 bowlers. Now, if they still, what I could get from the conversation was that 550 was enough, 823 was a lot more than they should have given. So I think they should then reinforce the bowling and put a bowler in and say, yes, we've got 5 bowlers to actually, whatever runs you get, you're able to then test England. Because at the moment you saw them run away with the test match because of the fact that even after 556, it was never enough.
It wasn't enough for sure. That's what we saw. David, from an England point of view, parting thoughts just on how historic this win is for them. Where does it stand in their list of achievements? Coming to Pakistan, they won 3-0 in their last tour. They're back now, and then having to score 800 runs. I think this will definitely go down in the history books.
It will. I mean, that last series 2 years ago was very, very impressive indeed. 2 hard-fought wins in the first 2 test matches and a relatively easy one in the third. This has raised the bar. This is England reaching new heights. I mean, new personal best scores, a new high total for the modern era. I mean, what was it, 1937, England made 903. That's 1,000 years ago. And the thing that does for confidence of the team is immense. But it was a good all-round performance, let's face it, because the batsmen put the runs on the board. When it came to bowling on still a flat pitch, still a good pitch in the third innings of the game, suddenly you saw little adjustments, but clever adjustments from the 3 England pacers. They used Leach well. I mean, Leach actually has had a very, very good game and has re-established himself as our best spinner. He doesn't have the imagination that Bashir does, but Bashir lost control too often in this game. So they've ticked a lot of boxes in that first game. And for instance, if they happen to get the chance to bat first in the next one here on probably a very similar pitch, who knows how many they'll make and how quickly they'll do it. But with all those personal achievements and that team achievement, I think this ranks as high as it gets.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts, gentlemen. It's been fabulous to have you here on Pitchside. That was pretty much the first test match for you. But we're coming back to Multan once again. It'll be interesting to see if the conditions will stay the same. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the talk of the town. We'll be starting off on the 15th of October for the second test match live at 9:25 a.m. with the toss and everything else that comes with it. Well, it's been a fabulous, fabulous victory for England. A huge congratulations to them. A phenomenal win for them. Lots of records scored here. For Pakistan, they've got some time in between. Lots to reflect on in terms of their selection, their plans, their execution. All of that will be on 15th of October when we will meet you again. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us.